My best friend created a support group for victims of me, but no one there seems to want to leave. It started as a joke. She posted a story saying that being around me requires therapy, and a bunch of people reacted laughing. A week later, she created a Facebook group called Survived Laura. I joined just to understand what was going on, and found out the group had turned into some kind of club. They share stories about me, go through old screenshots, and ask for advice on how to deal with me. The problem is, some of those same people still message me every day, saying they love me. When I first saw the post, I laughed. It was my best friend Megan writing, "Being around Laura should come with a warning label. Survivors meet here." At first, it looked like a joke, one of those inside things only your closest friends understand. I even commented a laughing emoji. Everyone else did too. The post got over 100 reactions. A week later, someone sent me a screenshot. Megan had actually created a Facebook group called Survived Laura. At first, I thought it was just another joke, some private chat where my friends would exaggerate how dramatic I could be. I didn't think twice, but curiosity got me. I clicked join. The moment I got accepted, my chest tightened. There were over 60 people in there. Not strangers. People I knew. Classmates, coworkers, my cousin, even one of my exes. The description read, "For those who have experienced Laura and lived to tell the story." The first post I saw was from a girl I barely talked to in college. She wrote, "Does anyone else get anxious every time Laura texts them? I swear she drains my energy just by existing." Someone replied, "Yeah, she turns everything into a crisis." Another comment, "Classic Laura, plays the victim and then acts surprised when people distance themselves." I froze. My throat went dry. It didn't feel like a joke anymore. Scrolling down, I saw more, screenshots of old conversations, cropped photos of texts I had sent years ago, things I thought were private. They analyzed everything, what I said, what I didn't say, how I reacted when I felt hurt. It was like watching people dissect my personality with scalpels. And then there was Megan, my best friend. She was replying to all of it, giving context, sharing her own experiences, confirming things, even correcting people when they got details wrong. The comments weren't angry or hateful. That's what made it worse. They sounded fond, like people bonding over trauma, except the trauma was me. One post read, "Remember when Laura cried at my birthday because she thought I didn't thank her enough? I should have known then." Another said, "She always wants to be the center of everything, but if you pull away, she'll make you feel guilty." They were describing me like I was a disease. But here's the thing that really messed with my head. Half of those people still texted me every day. They commented on my photos, sent me memes, asked me to hang out. Some even told me they loved me. So what were they doing in that group? Why pretend to care about me while sharing stories behind my back? I spent 2 hours reading. I couldn't stop. There was a whole thread called "How to Set Boundaries with Laura Without Feeling Guilty." Another called "Things Laura Will Say to Make You Stay." Someone even made a list titled "The Laura Starter Pack." It had screenshots of my old tweets, a photo of my coffee order, and a meme about emotional vampires. I remember feeling my hands shake. My heart wouldn't slow down. It was like reading my own autopsy while still alive. I wanted to confront Megan, but something in me hesitated. I needed to understand what was happening before I said anything, so I decided to stay in the group. For days, I watched. New members kept joining. Some said things like, "Finally, a place where people get it," or "This group saved me." They weren't leaving. They were treating it like therapy, a support group for victims of me. One night, Megan posted something that broke me. She wrote, "Sometimes I miss her, but then I remember what it felt like to constantly walk on eggshells. I'm proud of myself for leaving." Underneath, people commented things like, "You're so strong. Takes a lot to walk away from someone like that. She'll never change." Someone replied, "She's probably reading this." And Megan answered, "Let her. Maybe it'll finally make her see." That's when I realized she knew I was there. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about every memory we had, late night talks, the time she stayed with me after my dad's accident, the trips, the laughter. None of it felt real anymore. I tried to message her the next morning. I typed and deleted my words over and over. Finally, I just wrote, "What is this, Megan?" She replied almost instantly, "A safe space." That was it. No apology, no explanation, just that. Since then, things have gotten even stranger. People from that group still talk to me like nothing's wrong. They compliment my posts, ask me for favors, tag me in photos. It's like they're living in two parallel worlds, one where they care about me, and one where I'm the villain in their shared story. Sometimes I wonder if I really did something to deserve it. Maybe I was too intense, too emotional, too demanding. Maybe they just got tired. But the way they're rewriting my life, it feels like gaslighting on a massive scale. Yesterday, someone new joined the group. I didn't recognize the name, but Megan welcomed them, saying, "Tell us your story, we've all been there." The new member replied, "I just met Laura last month." I stared at that comment for a long time. How could someone I met once already be part of a group for people who survived me? It made me realize something terrifying. The group wasn't about healing anymore. It was recruiting. And the person they were healing from was still very much alive. For the next few days, I pretended everything was normal. I still replied to Megan's texts, liked her stories, commented on photos like nothing had changed. But every time she messaged me, I imagined her switching tabs to that Facebook group, typing about whatever I'd just said. I stopped sleeping properly. My brain wouldn't turn off. I'd lie awake imagining all the conversations they might be having, the screenshots, the jokes, the private details I'd told her in confidence. Then, one night, I noticed something strange. A new post in Survived Laura had a photo of me from that same day. Same outfit, same background, the coffee shop near my apartment. The caption said, "Some people never change. Still playing the victim wherever she goes." There were 12 comments. One of them said, "She's wearing that pity face again." Another replied, "Careful, she probably thinks you're her best friend now." The photo had been taken from outside the cafe window. Someone had been watching me. That's when the panic hit. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It was obsession. I clicked on the poster's profile. Fake name, no photos. But when I checked the group member list, the account had joined just 2 days earlier. Megan had approved it. I started saving screenshots of everything. I told myself it was just in case I ever needed proof, but deep down I knew it was more than that. It was the only control I had left. Every time I opened the group, I saw a new version of myself, one that was manipulative, dramatic, selfish, fake. They analyzed everything I did. My tone, my captions, even the way I apologized. Someone said, "She says sorry like it's a trap." Another replied, "Exactly. Guilt is her weapon." It made me start doubting my own memories. Was I really like that? Had Megan always felt this way? Then something even weirder happened. One of the girls from the group, Casey, messaged me privately. We'd been acquaintances for years, not close, but friendly. She sent a voice note saying, "Hey, just wanted to check on you. I know things have been weird online. Don't freak out, okay?" I didn't answer right away. When I finally did, I just said, "What do you mean by weird?" She took hours to reply. Then, "You should talk to Megan. She's trying to help you, in her own way." That made no sense. Help me how? By turning everyone against me? So I asked her directly, "Are you in that group? Seen?" No response. The next morning, she had blocked me. After that, Megan stopped talking to me completely. No texts, no comments, nothing. But the group was more active than ever. They were posting about boundaries, toxic attachment, healing from narcissistic friends. And then someone posted a poll. Should we let her back in? The options were not yet and never. I wanted to comment so badly, to say I was right there, reading everything, but a part of me was scared. Because if they knew, they might make a new group without me. The worst part is that I couldn't stop watching. Every post felt like a car crash. Horrible, but I couldn't look away. And then, one afternoon, something changed. A new member joined. Adam Whitmore, my ex. The one who broke up with me 2 years ago because he said I was too much. Megan commented under his introduction post, "Welcome, Adam. Take your time to share. You're safe here." Safe. That word made my stomach turn. He wrote, "Thanks, Megan. I wasn't sure I should join, but after everything that happened, I guess I belong here." I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. It felt like my life was being archived. All my relationships turned into case studies. I clicked on Adam's profile and saw he'd recently liked one of my posts, a selfie, 2 days before joining the group, so he could still like me publicly, while privately comparing notes about me with my best friend. That's when something inside me snapped. I decided to find out how far this went, who was really behind it. Because Megan might have started it, but the way people treated that group, it was like a cult. The next day, I created a fake Facebook profile, new name, new photo. I joined Survived Laura using a different email. Megan accepted it within an hour. Inside, the group looked different from my view as Laura. They had private threads, hidden from regular members, sections labeled Stage 2 and Active Recovery. I clicked through and saw what looked like group therapy exercises, except all the examples were about me. Imagine Laura apologizes. What will you say? Laura texts you after a fight. How do you respond without guilt? They even had files uploaded, PDFs titled Recognizing Manipulative Cycles and Healing from Emotional Overload. One post caught my eye. It was pinned by Megan herself. Remember, Laura isn't evil. She's broken, but it's not your job to fix her. Hundreds of likes. That line hit harder than any insult could. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. Then I saw something worse, a comment from one of the moderators. We're planning an in-person meetup next month. Maybe it's time to share our stories publicly. They were talking about going public. For a second, I couldn't breathe. If they posted those screenshots, those private messages, I'd lose everything. My job, my friends, maybe even my reputation online. I closed my laptop and just sat there, shaking. If they wanted to make me their villain, maybe it was time to give them a real one. I didn't go to work for 2 days. I told my boss I had the flu, but really, I couldn't focus on anything except that Facebook group. I'd check it every hour, terrified they'd post something new about me. Each time I opened it, I half expected to see my face plastered on some awareness post. I knew I couldn't just keep watching. I had to do something. So I started digging. Through my fake profile, I messaged one of the moderators, someone named Kendra Ross. She seemed active and friendly, always the first to comment under Megan's posts. Her profile said she was a therapist, which made me laugh out loud. If she was, I doubted any real clinic would approve what she was doing. I wrote, "Hey, I'm new here, just trying to understand how this all works." "How do you know Megan?" She replied a few hours later. "She's a friend of mine. We connected over shared experiences. You?" I typed back carefully. "Same. I've known Laura for a while. It's been tough. Megan's group has helped me a lot already." She sent a heart emoji. Then, "You'll learn a lot here. Megan's been through a lot with her." That line stuck with me. Been through a lot with her. What did that even mean? I started scrolling through Kendra's profile. Something felt off. Most of her photos were generic. Stock-looking images, inspirational quotes, a few selfies that seemed too perfect. I reverse-searched one of them and found it on a wellness website. It wasn't her. Kendra didn't exist. That changed everything. Someone had created a fake therapist persona to legitimize the group, and whoever it was had access to Megan's private posts. My first thought was Adam. He'd always been tech-savvy, the kind of guy who could make fake profiles and get away with it. But the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Adam wasn't that patient. He wouldn't run an entire fake community for months. Then I noticed something strange. Every time Kendra commented on something, Megan would reply almost instantly, like they were always online together. I decided to test it. I sent Megan a text from my real account. Me. "Hey, I just saw a post that reminded me of you. Miss you." 5 minutes later, Kendra posted in the group. "It's so typical when toxic people try to reconnect once they feel ignored. Stay strong, everyone. Silence is power." My heart dropped. Megan was Kendra. It hit me like a punch. She wasn't just part of the group, she was the group. She'd built an entire echo chamber around herself, with fake profiles to back up her own version of events. Every therapist, every moderator, every new member who praised her might have been her too. The betrayal stung worse than anything I'd ever felt, but I didn't react. Not yet. I needed proof. I spent the next few days tracking patterns, the timing of her replies, the tone of her comments, the way Kendra and Megan used the same phrases. Stay strong, walk away, reclaim your peace. It was identical. She wasn't trying to help anyone. She was building a narrative, one where I was the problem and she was the savior. That night, I couldn't stop shaking. I paced my apartment, going over everything in my head. The way she told people I was manipulative, that I needed therapy, that she was protecting others from me. But what if that's exactly what she was doing now? Controlling everyone, one post at a time. The next day, I messaged her from the fake account again. Me, as the fake profile. "Has Laura tried to reach out to you again?" She replied within a minute. "Yes, she doesn't change. It's sad, honestly. But at least she can't hurt anyone here." That last line made my stomach twist. She didn't mean emotionally. I could tell. There was something darker underneath those words, like she saw me as dangerous, something to be stopped. I decided to confront her, but not directly. I made a post in the group from the fake profile. Sometimes I wonder if Laura even knows this group exists. Would she recognize herself in what we write? Dozens of people commented. Megan was one of the first. If she did, she'd deny everything. That's what people like her do. They turn truth into attack. I stared at her comment, reading it over and over. I realized she was preparing them. She wanted to make sure that if I ever tried to defend myself, no one would believe me. That night, I did something impulsive. I took screenshots of everything. The fake therapist profile, Megan's comments, all of it, and sent them to Adam. He didn't reply right away. When he finally did, it was one line. "You need to stop, Laura. This obsession is exactly why she started the group." I almost dropped my phone. She'd gotten to him too. That was when it hit me. I couldn't win this online. Megan had built a world where every move I made only confirmed her story. If I fought back, I was defensive. If I stayed quiet, I was manipulative. I couldn't play her game anymore. So I made a new plan. I was going to meet her in person. I waited 3 days before texting her. Just one message. "Can we talk?" One last time. No reply. Then, late that night, a message popped up. "Tomorrow, 6 p.m. at the park." Just like that. No explanation. When I got there, she was already waiting, sitting on a bench, scrolling her phone. For a moment, I almost turned back. But then she looked up, smiled, and said, "Hey," like none of it had happened. Megan didn't look nervous when I walked up. She smiled, slid her phone into her bag, and said, "You look tired." I laughed once, too hard. "You've been busy making sure of that." She sighed, like I was being dramatic again. "Laura, I'm not here to fight." "Then what are you here for?" I asked. "To see how your little fan club is doing?" For a second, something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, or maybe amusement. "It's not a fan club. It's a place for people who've been hurt. By me," I said. She didn't deny it. There were kids playing nearby, and the sound of their laughter made everything feel worse, like I was watching a normal life I didn't have anymore. I sat down on the other end of the bench. "I joined the group," I said quietly. "I've seen everything." Her posture didn't change. She just crossed her legs and said, "I figured." "So you don't even care?" I asked. "You're okay with people sharing private conversations, screenshots, photos. They needed to see the patterns." She cut me off. "Sometimes you have to show people what manipulation looks like so they can heal." I stared at her. "Do you even hear yourself? You sound insane." She turned her head then, eyes locked on mine. "I sound free." Something about the way she said it made my stomach drop. She wasn't ashamed. She was proud. "I found out about Kendra," I said. "Your fake therapist account. Do you realize how messed up that is?" Her expression didn't change. People listen more when advice comes from someone with authority. You'd do the same thing if you wanted to be heard. "No," I said. "I wouldn't build fake people to agree with me." She tilted her head, studying me like she used to when we were still close, back when I thought she cared. "You really think this is just about me, don't you?" "It is about you," I snapped. "You created this." "It's about what you do to people," she said calmly. "How they walk away from you feeling guilty for leaving. How you always twist every story until you're the one who's hurt." I gave them a place to stop apologizing. My hands were shaking. "You're lying to yourself." She looked down at her hands, picking at her nails. "I used to think that. I used to think you'd get better. But you can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken." The words hit harder than I expected. I wanted to argue, to shout that I wasn't broken, that she was the one rewriting everything. But then she looked at me, really looked, and said softly, "You drain people, Laura. You don't even mean to, but you do." I didn't have a response. For a moment, all I could hear was my pulse. She stood up. "I'm done being your emotional trash can." I almost laughed again, but it came out shaky. "Then why keep talking about me every day? Why build a whole world where I'm the villain? If you're done, be done." That stopped her. She blinked, like she hadn't thought about it that way. Then she said, "Because you still scare me." That broke something in me. "Scare you?" I whispered. "I've never hurt you." She nodded slowly. "Not with your hands, but you have this way of getting inside people's heads. You make them feel like they owe you something, like loving you is a debt they'll never pay off." I felt sick. "You're talking like I planned it," I said, "like I'm some monster." "I think," she said carefully, "you don't know who you are without someone to need you, and that's the saddest thing." I didn't realize I was crying until I saw her face blur. I wiped my eyes fast, but she saw. For a moment, her voice softened. "Laura, I didn't start that group to destroy you. I just needed a place to breathe." "Then why not talk to me?" I asked. Why turn it into this circus? She hesitated. Because every time I tried, you made it about you feeling attacked. You cried, and I ended up apologizing. The group was the only way I could say things without you twisting them. That last part stung because it was true, at least partly. I had cried. I did make things about me when I was hurt, but what she'd done wasn't healing. It was revenge disguised as therapy. I took a deep breath. Delete it, Megan. Please, just delete it. She looked away. I can't. It's bigger than you now. Something cold spread through me. What does that mean? There are hundreds of people in there now. Not all of them even know you. It's become about boundaries in general, about learning to say no. You're just the example that started it. I wanted to scream. I'm not an example. I'm a person. She flinched but didn't move. That's exactly what you said when I tried to leave the first time. We stood there in silence for a long time. Then she said quietly, You should go, Laura. Please. I didn't move. If you think I'm just going to disappear, I don't, she said. I think you're going to watch, and that's what will kill you. Then she turned and walked away. I stood there, shaking, until she was gone. That night, I logged back into the group. She'd already posted something new. Sometimes closure doesn't come from talking. It comes from choosing silence. Dozens of people commented hearts, and so true. I realized then that she wasn't going to stop. She didn't need me to reply anymore. She had an audience now, so I made a decision. If Megan wouldn't shut it down, I would. And to do that, I had to make the group turn on her. I spent the next few nights planning. I barely ate, barely slept. My laptop stayed open on the couch, the blue light washing over the walls while I stared at the group page. Every post, every comment, every small reaction, it all felt like a map I could use. If Megan wanted to control the story, fine, I'd write a new one. I started small. From my fake profile, I commented under random posts, things that sounded harmless. Does anyone else feel like the group's changed lately? I loved the early days when it was more about sharing, not just blaming. At first, no one replied. Then someone said, Yeah, it's starting to feel like we can't disagree with Megan without being called unhealed. That was the crack I needed. Over the next few days, I kept pushing. Little questions, tiny seeds of doubt. Isn't it weird that Megan always replies first? Or, I thought Kendra was a real therapist. Why did her profile disappear? More people started asking the same things. They didn't know Kendra was Megan, but they sensed something was off. One woman even wrote, I thought this group was about supporting each other, not worshiping one person. The post stayed up for 10 minutes before Megan deleted it, and that was all it took. Once people noticed she'd started censoring things, they got suspicious. I watched the tension grow like a fire. The next day, I made a new post. Long and emotional from the fake account. I just want to say I came here to heal. But sometimes it feels like Megan wants us to stay angry forever. Isn't that the opposite of recovery? The comments blew up. Dozens of people agreed. Others defended her. It turned into chaos. I sat there smiling, heart racing, watching her control slip away one comment at a time. Then Megan finally responded, If people can't handle accountability, maybe this isn't the right place for them. The tone was cold, defensive. Nothing like her usual supportive posts. It made her look bad. Perfect. I kept watching for hours. People started messaging each other privately, forming sides. Some were leaving the group entirely. Others demanded explanations about Kendra. By midnight, Megan had posted again, a long, rambling message about betrayal and fake accounts trying to ruin safe spaces. It was almost poetic. She didn't realize the fake account she was blaming was sitting there, watching her unravel. For a moment, I felt powerful. Then I felt disgusted with myself, because the truth is, I wasn't doing this just to clear my name. I wanted her to hurt. I wanted her to feel the same humiliation I'd felt scrolling through that group the first time. I told myself I was exposing the truth, but really I was becoming exactly what she said I was. Manipulative, obsessed, impossible to let go. Still, I couldn't stop. The next day, I messaged one of the original members, a woman named Jessie. She'd posted a lot about healing and boundaries, and she seemed rational compared to the rest. Me, as fake profile. Do you ever think Megan enjoys the attention too much? Jessie. I've been thinking that. She talks about letting go, but she keeps bringing Laura up. It's weird. Me. What if she made up some of the stories? Jessie. You think so? I didn't answer right away. I just let the question hang. By that evening, Jessie made her own post. We should all remember that healing doesn't mean idolizing one person's version of events. We weren't there for everything. Megan deleted it within minutes. 2 hours later, Jessie posted again. Why are my posts being removed? This is supposed to be a support group, not a cult. Hundreds of comments flooded in. People demanded transparency. Someone wrote, Megan, you owe us an explanation. It was chaos. And for the first time in months, the chaos wasn't about me. I refreshed the page again and again, waiting for her next move. Nothing. No comments. No likes. She'd gone silent. Then, out of nowhere, a notification popped up. Megan had sent me a message on my real account. Megan. I know it's you. I stared at it for a full minute, my pulse loud in my ears. Me. What are you talking about? Megan. The fake profile, the posts, the comments. I know it's you, Laura. I didn't reply. I just closed the chat window. A few minutes later, a new post appeared in the group. Everyone, please ignore any rumors being spread. There are people trying to destroy what we've built. Don't engage. But people were engaging. The more she begged them not to, the more they demanded answers. I had done it. I'd turned her own creation against her. Still, I didn't feel satisfied. I just felt empty. Because the truth was, the group had started because of me, and now it was falling apart because of me again. At around 2 a.m., I got another message, not from Megan this time, but from Jessie. Hey, I don't know who you really are, but thank you. I think people needed to see what she's been doing. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I closed my laptop and sat there staring at the dark screen, realizing something I didn't want to admit. Even if Megan deleted the group tomorrow, none of it would erase what happened between us. The screenshots, the stories, the way people saw me, it was all still out there. And worse, I'd become part of the same game I claimed to hate. I told myself I'd stop after tonight. Just log out and let it all burn. But before I could close the tab, a new notification popped up. A new group had been created. Survived Megan. And this time, the first post wasn't from me. At first, I thought it was a prank. The name sat there on my notifications bar like a joke someone made to mock the entire situation. Survived Megan. But when I clicked it, I froze. It wasn't a parody page. It was a full-on mirror of Survived Laura. Same layout, same tone, even the same group rules. Except this time, she was the subject. The description read, for anyone who's been emotionally manipulated by Megan Hart, you are not crazy. You are not alone. There were already over 50 members. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. I hadn't made it. I'd planned to someday, maybe as payback, but I hadn't done it. Someone else had. I scrolled down, my hands shaking. The first post was from an account named Amber V. I didn't recognize the name. Megan turned everyone against me when I tried to set boundaries. She made me believe I was the problem. Seeing this group exist makes me feel less alone. The comments were full of support. Dozens of people shared stories about how Megan twisted things, how she guilt-tripped them, how she acted like she was saving them while quietly isolating them from others. One comment said, she called herself an empath, but everything she did was about control. Another, it's ironic. She says Laura's manipulative, but she's the one who started a cult. Reading it felt surreal. I wasn't used to seeing her on the other side of the story, but the strangest part was that some of the names in Survived Megan were the same ones from Survived Laura. People who'd once called me toxic were now calling her manipulative. Within hours, it exploded. Someone posted screenshots, her messages, deleted comments, the fake therapist account, Kendra. Someone even uploaded audio clips of voice notes she'd sent privately, saying things like, I have to keep control or people will turn against me. They were tearing her apart. And I didn't have to lift a finger. I just sat there, watching as the people who once judged me turned on her. Every post made her look worse. Power-hungry, obsessive, fake. The narrative was rewriting itself right in front of me. By midnight, Survived Megan had more members than her group ever did. Part of me felt vindicated. I wanted to believe karma was finally doing the work for me, but another part of me, the quieter, tired part, felt sick. Because the tone in Survived Megan was the same as hers had been about me. Same language, same pity disguised as empowerment. They weren't healing, they were feeding off it. And I realized, with a kind of cold clarity, that none of us were getting out of this clean. The next morning, Megan's group went private. Then, an hour later, it disappeared entirely. She'd deleted Survived Laura. I thought that would make me feel better. It didn't. A few hours after that, She called me, not text. A real call. Her name lighting up my screen sent a shock through me. I almost didn't answer, but something in me needed to hear her voice. When I picked up, she didn't say hello. She just asked, "Did you do this?" Her voice sounded different, smaller. "No," I said. She didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven. They're posting things I said in confidence. Stuff I told them when I thought they were my friends. I almost laughed at the irony. "Now you know how it feels. I didn't deserve this," she whispered. "You think I did?" Silence. Then she said, "I never wanted it to go this far." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "You started something you couldn't control." She sniffed. "I just wanted people to understand what it's like dealing with you. And now they understand what it's like dealing with you," I said quietly. She didn't reply. I could tell she was crying. For a second, I almost softened, almost. Then she said, "You always find a way to win, don't you?" That broke whatever sympathy I had left. "No one's winning, Megan." She hung up. For the rest of the day, I kept checking Survived Megan. Every refresh brought new stories, some clearly true, others exaggerated or flat-out fake. People who barely knew her claimed to have escaped her manipulation. Someone even said she'd stolen money from them. Watching it, I realized how fast reputations rot online. All it takes is a good story, a few screenshots, and a crowd that needs a villain. By the third day, Megan had deleted all her social media. Her Instagram, her LinkedIn, even her Venmo. Gone. The last post in Survived Megan said, "She's disappeared. Maybe that's for the best. Survivors, stay strong." Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments, and I just sat there, staring at it, realizing the circle was complete. But then, something happened that I didn't expect. A new post appeared, from the same Amber V who had started Survived Megan. "I think we need to stop doing this. It's turning into exactly what we claim to hate. Maybe the real problem isn't Megan, or Laura. Maybe it's all of us." For the first time, the comments weren't angry. They were confused, thoughtful, quiet. And for the first time in weeks, I closed the laptop without feeling the need to check again. That night, I sat in my apartment with my phone off. No notifications, no noise, just silence. I should have felt peace. But all I could think about was how easy it had been to destroy each other, and how none of us ever really survived anyone. 2 weeks passed without a single post from Survived Megan. No updates, no comments, nothing. The group still existed, but it felt like a ghost town. People had moved on, lost interest, or realized how ugly things had gotten. I tried to move on too. I went back to work, muted my notifications, deleted every screenshot I'd saved. I even blocked half the people who'd been part of either group, but the quiet didn't last. One afternoon, while scrolling through a new Facebook recommendation feed, something caught my eye. A group called Healing from Emotional Entanglements. The name was neutral, almost innocent. No mention of me or Megan. The profile picture was a soft pastel graphic that said, "Choose peace." Curiosity got me. I clicked it. The admin's name was Harper Ellis. No photo, just a quote in the bio. "Empaths attract chaos. Boundaries protect peace." The writing style, calm, reflective, sprinkled with little emotional slogans, it was familiar. Too familiar. I scrolled through the posts. Most were generic advice about toxic attachments, recognizing emotional cycles, and breaking free from control. But then I saw one that made my stomach drop. "Some people mistake intensity for love. Be careful. Those who cry hardest when you leave are often the ones who hurt you most." That was almost word for word something Megan had written in Survived Laura. I clicked on Harper Ellis. The account was new, barely 3 days old, but already had hundreds of followers. The way Harper replied to comments, the tone, even the use of emojis, it was her. Megan was back. I stared at the screen for a long time, half disgusted, half impressed. She hadn't learned anything. She'd just rebranded. Except this time, she wasn't naming names. She'd gone broader. A self-help community instead of a personal vendetta. Still, the message was the same. Protect yourself from people like me. I joined the group under my fake profile, more out of habit than plan. I wanted to see how far she'd go this time. Inside, it was exactly what I expected. Carefully curated vulnerability, polite comments, people sharing heartbreak stories, while Megan, Harper, replied with perfectly worded empathy. I scrolled for nearly an hour before realizing she hadn't just rewritten herself, she'd rewritten me. One post read, "I once had a friend who thought apologies erased harm. She never understood that change means silence." not words. It didn't use my name, but everyone who knew our story would understand. It was me again, the unhealed friend. And worse, people were eating it up. Comments like, "Harper, this hits so deep. You always know how to explain what I can't put into words." I closed my laptop, shaking. It was happening again. Not as a war this time, but as a narrative. Megan didn't need a group of haters anymore. She just needed followers. That night, I sat in bed scrolling through her posts over and over. Part of me wanted to expose her again. Another part knew it wouldn't matter. She'd just make another name, another page, another version of herself. The next morning, I got a message from an unknown number. "You're mentioned again. Thought you should see it." There was a link to a Reddit thread titled, "How to Heal After a Friendship with a Narcissist." The username that posted it was "You Are Healing Harper." I clicked it, even though I knew I shouldn't. The story was long, detailed, emotional, written in that same voice she used when she wanted people to feel sorry for her. She told the story of a friend who made everything about herself, who cried to stay relevant, who joined support groups just to spy. I didn't have to guess who that friend was. And then I saw the part that made my hands go cold. I won't say her real name, but she's reading this. She always reads everything, and I want her to know, I forgive you. I threw my phone onto the bed. My whole body was shaking. She'd found a new way to control the story, not through hate this time, but through forgiveness. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, guilt, relief, all of it hit at once. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't comment or message her. I just sat there thinking about how no matter what I did, she would always find a way to make me part of her narrative. But later that night, I did something I hadn't done before. I made my own post, not from the fake profile, but from my real account. No screenshots, no names, no accusations, just a few lines. Sometimes people will write stories about you. Sometimes they'll call it healing. But you don't have to spend your life defending your side. Just live it. It didn't go viral. Hardly anyone liked it. But for the first time, I didn't care. I logged off, turned off my phone, and sat in the dark. For once, I didn't feel the urge to check what anyone else was saying. Maybe that was my version of survival. At least until I got the next notification, a new message request. From a name I didn't recognize, Amber V. "Hey, Laura, I think we need to talk about Megan. There's something you don't know." When the message came through, I almost ignored it. I'd promised myself I was done with all of this. But the name, Amber V, was the same one that had started Survived Megan. "Hey, Laura. I think we need to talk about Megan. There's something you don't know." I stared at it for a long time, then typed back one word. "What?" A few minutes later, another bubble appeared. "Not here. Can we meet? Somewhere public, please." My stomach tightened. I didn't owe this stranger anything, but curiosity always wins with me. I told her to meet me at a coffee shop downtown, the same one from that first photo someone had posted of me months ago. When I got there, I spotted her immediately. Early 30s, dark hair pulled into a low bun, nervous energy all over her. She looked like someone who hadn't slept much either. She stood when I approached. "You're Laura," she said, almost whispering it. "Apparently the original villain," I said. She gave a small, exhausted smile. "Same." We sat. I expected drama or accusations, but she didn't look angry. Just tired. "I knew Megan years ago," she started. "Long before you. We worked together at a nonprofit. She did the same thing back then, just on a smaller scale." I leaned in. "What do you mean?" "She'd pick someone to help. At first, you think she's the only person who understands you. Then she starts telling everyone how hard it is to be around you, how she's holding space for your chaos. Eventually, the whole group turns on you, and she walks away looking like the savior. It felt like hearing my own story told in another voice. So, Survived Megan. That was payback? I asked. Amber shook her head. "No, it started as a warning. I saw what she did to you and realized she was about to do it again, just online this time. I wanted to stop her. But it spiraled, just like your thing did." I sat back, trying to process it. "You used me," I said quietly. "You used my name to start another war." She winced. "I didn't mean for it to blow up. People needed somewhere to vent. But then they started making things up, and it got ugly. I lost control. Of course she did. We all had. I thought if I showed you what she'd done to others, maybe you'd stop chasing her," Amber said. "But she's already rewriting everything. She's using a new name now, right?" "Harper Ellis," I said. Amber nodded. "She's always had backups. It's like she plans her next life before she burns the current one down. The words made my chest ache. She's dangerous, Laura, not because she lies, but because she believes every version she creates. I didn't answer. My mind was spinning with the idea that Megan had done this before, probably more times than either of us knew. Amber lowered her voice. She'll reach out to you again. She always circles back to the people she can't fully erase. When she does, don't engage. Don't try to prove anything. Just disappear. That last part hit hard. That's what everyone keeps telling me. To disappear. Amber looked at me sadly. Then maybe that's the only way to win. We sat there in silence. Outside, cars moved past the window. Normal people living normal lives, untouched by online confessionals and fake empathy. When we stood to leave, she handed me a folded piece of paper. I printed something, she said. Her old usernames, old emails. If she starts again, you'll know it's her. I didn't want to take it, but I did. Back home, I opened the paper. Dozens of names, all slightly different. Harper Ellis, Kendra Ross, Megan Hope, Ellie Hart. She'd been running these cycles for years. At the bottom of the list was one more, Amber V. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. Then I looked closer. Same format, same email structure as the others. My hands started shaking. I pulled up the Facebook page for Survived Megan. The account Amber V had been created only 3 months ago. Before that, no history, no friends, no photos. I texted the number she'd messaged me from. Who are you really? No reply. Then, after a minute, you still don't understand. It's never just Megan. I called the number, but it went straight to voicemail. I don't know if Amber was one of her earlier identities or someone she'd manipulated into doing her work, but the realization settled heavy in my chest. Megan's reach didn't end when she disappeared. It replicated. It grew. That night, I opened Facebook again. Healing from emotional entanglements was gone. Deleted. But a new recommendation popped up at the top of my feed. A pastel logo. A different name. Recover Together. Support for Empaths. Admin. AV. I closed the laptop slowly. Some stories don't end. They just change usernames. For 2 days, I tried to pretend I hadn't seen it. I muted the notification, shut my laptop, buried myself in work. But I kept thinking about that pastel logo and the initials AV at the top of the page. I told myself it could be coincidence. Maybe AV wasn't Amber V. Maybe I was seeing ghosts where there weren't any. By the 3rd day, I gave up pretending. I logged in and joined Recover Together, Support for Empaths. The first thing that hit me was how normal it looked. No personal stories, no drama. Just a feed of quotes and gentle advice. Boundaries are not walls. Healing isn't revenge. Don't let someone's chaos become your identity. It was clean, calm, safe. Too safe. Then I noticed the structure. Members weren't allowed to post freely. Only admins could approve posts. That was exactly how Megan ran her first group before it exploded. And the admin list had one name, AV. I clicked the profile. No photos, no friends list. Account created last week. I scrolled through the posts she'd made. Each caption had that same careful rhythm I'd seen before. Short sentences, soft tone, perfectly rehearsed empathy. Then I saw one that stopped me cold. Some people feed on sympathy. They show their wounds so they never have to heal. Protect your peace from people who make pain their personality. I read it 3 times. It was about me. Again. Only this time it wasn't written by Megan, or at least not directly. If AV was Amber, or if Amber was another one of Megan's masks, I couldn't tell anymore. That night, I started digging. The page had around 4,000 members already. I clicked through their profiles, searching for patterns, location, shared friends, old names. Some looked familiar from the first groups. Others were new, but their posts had the same tone, almost rehearsed, like they knew exactly what kind of victim to sound like. It hit me slowly. This wasn't just Megan or Amber. It was a network. People addicted to the same cycle. Someone becomes the toxic one. The others become survivors. And when the story burns out, they find a new villain. It wasn't about me anymore. It never really was. I scrolled down to the comments under a post about recovering from emotional chaos. One woman wrote, "It's strange how every group ends the same way. Someone always becomes the problem." And AV replied, "Because some people need there to be a problem. Otherwise, they wouldn't know who they are." I don't know if she meant me, or Megan, or herself. Maybe all of us. The next morning, I tried something reckless. I posted under my real name. "Hi. I've been in groups like this before. I think we need to talk about how easy it is to turn healing into gossip. It stayed up for about 5 minutes before being deleted. Then I got a private message from AV. Laura, I thought you'd learned. This space isn't for you. I typed back, why do you keep doing this? No response. A few minutes later, I refreshed the group page, and it was gone. I'd been banned. That should have made me angry. But instead, I felt relief. For the first time, I wasn't inside the story. I was outside, watching the same pattern unfold again, and realizing I didn't have to play a role in it anymore. Still, I couldn't shake one thought. If Megan was AV, how many people like me were out there right now, being turned into someone else's villain? I thought about all the names on Amber's list, all those fake accounts, all those identities that blended into each other until no one knew who had started what. And then I realized the scariest part? Maybe Megan didn't even know anymore. Maybe we'd all become each other's ghosts, haunting different corners of the same endless confession. That night, I opened a blank document and started writing everything down. The real story, from the beginning. No fake names, no edits, no therapy talk, just what happened. It wasn't for revenge or for proof, it was just for me. When I finished, I titled it, Survived No One. I closed my laptop and for the first time in months, didn't feel the need to check who was watching, until a few days later, an email arrived. No subject line. The body of the message said only, you can't heal what you keep writing about. No sender name, no reply address, just those words. The message was short, but it crawled under my skin and stayed there. You can't heal what you keep writing about. No sender, no header trail. I tried to trace it, copying the raw data, searching the IP, anything. But it led nowhere. Some relay server from overseas, completely anonymized. I told myself it was probably spam, or maybe some automated message triggered by the keywords in my document. But deep down, I knew better. Someone had read it, and the only person who could have known that I'd written anything was me. That night, I unplugged my router, turned off my phone, and still felt watched. The next morning, when I turned the Wi-Fi back on, I had a new follower on my private Instagram. Username, Recover Together, Admin. The profile photo was the same pastel swirl from the last group. No posts, just the bio. We see you. I blocked it immediately, but my stomach stayed tight all day. By evening, I'd convinced myself to go to the police, or at least to a tech security guy at my office who knew how to trace accounts. But halfway through writing an email to him, I stopped. What was I going to say? Hi, my ex-best friend might be sending me cryptic therapy cult messages again through a chain of fake identities. No one would believe it. And even if they did, there was nothing illegal about it. It was just words. Still, I couldn't sit still. I opened my laptop again, pulled up my document, Survived No One, and read it from the top. Halfway through, something caught my eye. A new line had appeared at the bottom that I didn't write. You're still part of the experiment. I slammed the lid shut so hard the screen flickered. I unplugged everything again, checked the locks, and sat on the floor with my back against the door. My heartbeat wouldn't calm down. An hour later, curiosity beat fear. I turned the laptop back on. The line was gone. I didn't know if it had actually been there or if I'd imagined it. My memory felt unreliable now, like every tab I opened rewrote itself. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop deleting. It's proof. I didn't answer. I turned the phone face down on the table and tried to breathe. A few minutes later, another text came through. Meet me tomorrow, same park, noon. No name. I knew it could be Megan, or Amber, or someone pretending to be either, but I went anyway. The park looked the same as last time. Kids playing, dogs running. I sat on a bench and waited. 20 minutes passed before someone approached. It wasn't Megan. It wasn't Amber either. It was a man, maybe mid-30s, wearing a gray hoodie and glasses. He stopped a few feet away. You're Laura, he said, like it was a fact he already knew. Who are you? I asked. He didn't answer right away. You wrote the document. I nodded slowly. He sat on the opposite end of the bench. You think this started with Megan? I didn't like the way he said think. What do you mean? He looked straight ahead, not at me. These groups, Survived Laura, Survived Megan, Recover Together, they're part of a pattern. Different names, same structure. Someone builds it, someone becomes the subject, then it collapses. We've tracked at least 20 versions since 2016. My throat went dry. Who's we? The ones who monitor online behavior clusters. It's part of my job. He pulled out his phone and showed me a list of group names, all with the same pastel logos, all deleted. Every one of them had an admin with a different name, but the same writing style. Megan? I asked. He shook his head. No one that simple. Whoever runs these accounts rotates through identities. Sometimes they use real people, sometimes fakes. We don't know the original source anymore. I stared at him. You think she's not real? I think they stopped being one person a long time ago. I wanted to laugh, but the look on his face stopped me. He wasn't joking. He handed me a card. No company name, just an encrypted email address. If you get another message, send it here. Don't reply to them directly. I took it without thinking. When I looked up again, he was already walking away. That night, I sat at my desk with the card in front of me, trying to decide whether to believe any of it. Maybe he was just another part of the same game. Maybe that's how the cycle kept going. People showing up with new stories, new warnings, new ways to keep me involved. I opened my laptop one more time. The document "Survived No One" was gone. In its place was a single new file. No title, just a timestamp from 5 minutes earlier. I clicked it open. Inside was one sentence: "Stop meeting strangers. They work for me." The file deleted itself before I could screenshot it. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the blank desktop, waiting for another line to appear. Nothing did. When I finally shut the computer, my reflection in the dark screen looked almost calm. Maybe Megan was behind it. Maybe Amber. Maybe someone I hadn't even met yet. Or maybe the groups had taken on a life of their own. Either way, I wasn't going to be their story anymore. At least that's what I told myself. Until the next morning, when I woke up to find a new email in my inbox. Subject line: "Survived Laura, relaunch." The subject line just sat there at the top of my inbox. "Survived Laura, relaunch." No sender name, just an address made of random letters. My hands hovered over the mouse. I knew opening it was a mistake, but of course I clicked. "Welcome back, survivors. We're rebuilding the space. We've learned from the last cycle. This time, no hate, just honesty. If you'd like to share your experience with Laura, please reply with a short reflection. Anonymous submissions will be posted starting next week." Attached was a photo of me, cropped from a picture I'd deleted years ago. My chest felt hollow. I checked the timestamp, sent at 3:17 a.m. while I was asleep. Someone still had copies of things I'd erased. I almost deleted it right away, but another line at the bottom stopped me. "If you don't reply, your silence will be considered confirmation." That wasn't an invitation. It was a trap. I sat staring at the screen until the sunrise turned my blinds gray. By the time I left for work, I'd convinced myself to do the one thing I swore I wouldn't: answer. Not from my main account, though. I opened a new email and wrote, "Who is this? What do you want from me?" No greeting, no emotion. Send. The reply came an hour later. "Just your truth, nothing else." I forwarded the whole thread to the address on the plain card the man in the park had given me. Within minutes, he called. "Don't engage again," he said. His voice was tense, clipped. That message wasn't from us, and it's not a real relaunch. Whoever's behind it is testing to see if you'll still respond. Testing? I asked. They feed on attention. Every reply gives them material. Do not give them anything. He hung up before I could ask who they were. I tried to follow his advice, but by night the email had spread. People I hadn't heard from in months were posting vague comments online. Old classmates, coworkers, friends of friends. Phrases like, "Some people never learn," and "Healing means warning others." It was happening again, faster this time, like the internet itself remembered the rhythm. I created a new social account under a random name and started digging through the posts that mentioned me. Each one linked back to a single source, a page calling itself The Cycle Project. The profile photo was the same pastel pattern. The admin's name? LH. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My initials. The first post said, "Phase 11 begins. Subject acknowledged message. Containment ongoing." I scrolled further. There were screenshots from my emails, my texts, even drafts from the document that had vanished off my laptop. Whoever ran this account had access to everything. Another post read, "Objective. Observe response to narrative repetition." That was when I understood. This wasn't just Megan anymore. This was bigger, colder. An experiment, or someone pretending it was one. I messaged the man from the park again. No answer. At midnight, a new email arrived in my inbox. This one from the same blank address as before. "You asked what we want. We want you to stop trying to end the story. You were never supposed to leave the group." My stomach twisted. My webcam light blinked once, then off. I covered it with tape and unplugged the laptop. The next morning, I went to a public library, used a fresh computer, and typed a single message to the park contact. "They're using my data. How do I make it stop?" Minutes later, his reply came through. "Don't delete anything. Keep all evidence. And Laura, if you see another account appear, do not click it." The project runs on interaction. Starve it. I logged off immediately. Outside, the city looked painfully ordinary. People walking dogs, buses passing, sunlight catching glass. I tried to breathe like them, live like them, but every vibration from my phone made me flinch. That night, before I went to bed, I checked my email one last time. No new messages. For the first time in months, silence. Then, right as I closed my eyes, my phone buzzed with a notification from an unknown app I'd never installed. The icon was a white circle on a pastel background. The message preview read, "Welcome to Phase 12, Laura. We missed you." The app appeared on my home screen without asking permission. A plain white icon, no name. I held my finger on it, tried to delete it. Nothing. No X, no options menu. Just that still, white circle staring back at me. I turned the phone off, waited, turned it back on. The icon was still there. Now it had a label, Phase 12. When I tapped it, the screen went black for a few seconds. Then a single sentence appeared. "Hello, Laura. You are not the only one." Then another line loaded underneath. "Do you consent to participate in the next stage?" There were two buttons, yes and exit. I didn't touch either. I closed the phone again, but even through the dark screen, I thought I could see faint white light pulsing from under the glass. I put it face down and tried to think. Maybe the man from the park had planted it somehow. Maybe this was his way of tracking the Cycle Project. Or maybe this was the Cycle Project. When I opened the phone again, a notification slid across the screen. "Inactivity detected. Resuming anyway." The screen flashed once, then showed a feed, just like a social network. Dozens of profiles with usernames that looked like initials. MH, AV, KR, HE. Every one of them had the same pastel background. Each profile listed a case subject. Mine said LH, active. At the top of the screen, a message scrolled by like a ticker tape. Phase 12 will measure narrative persistence following intervention collapse. I didn't know what that meant. Then a new line appeared in red. Live observation. Laura Hart. Hart. That wasn't my name. But it was close enough to make my stomach clench. I turned the phone off, wrapped it in aluminum foil, shoved it into a drawer. It sounds paranoid now, but at that moment it was the only thing that felt safe. For hours I sat there replaying everything. Megan, Amber, the man in the park, the emails, the documents. What if none of them were separate people? What if every single identity was just a different mask built by the same system, one that needed me to keep reacting so the story could keep running? By midnight, I couldn't stand the silence anymore. I went back to the drawer, unwrapped the phone, and opened the app again. This time, it skipped the greeting. It showed a live chat window. System. Do you remember when you first read about yourself? Me. Who is this? System. The writers. Me. Writers of what? System. Everything. Then the chat disappeared. A new window opened, a scrolling feed of comments. People were discussing me in real time, analyzing my choices, debating whether I'd learned empathy yet. Their profile photos were blank. Their tone was casual, like they were watching a show. She's the most responsive subject so far. Classic merge behavior. Notice how she creates villains to avoid stillness. Do we archive her after this phase? I dropped the phone. When I picked it up again, the feed had stopped. A single message blinked on the screen. You wanted to end the story, but the story needs an ending. I typed back without thinking. Then end it. The response came instantly. That's not our job. That's yours. Then the screen went white. The next morning, the icon was gone. My phone looked normal again. I checked my files, my email, every folder. Everything was empty. Even my name on the lock screen had changed. It just said L. For the first time in months, no one was talking about me online. No groups, no reposts, no healing threads. I should have felt relief. But it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like erasure. I spent the day walking through the city, waiting for some sign that the world still knew who I was. Nothing. No calls, no messages, no reminders. By evening, I opened a new document and started typing from memory. I wrote about Megan, about Amber, about the park, about the app. When I saved the file, the cursor blinked once and froze. A new line appeared at the bottom, automatically typed by someone. Or something else. Phase 13 begins when you share this. My fingers hovered over the keys. If I posted it, If I told anyone, would that mean I was starting it all over again? I deleted the line and closed the file. But when I looked at my reflection in the dark screen, I swear I saw someone behind me, smiling, holding a phone with the same white circle glowing on it. For the next few days, I tried not to touch any screen. No phone, no laptop. I bought a paper notebook and started writing by hand because ink felt safer than pixels. But even on paper, I could feel it, the pull to keep the story going. Every sentence about Megan or Amber or the Cycle Project felt like an invitation for something to start watching again. On the third night, there was a knock on my door, 3 quick taps, then silence. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there, but an envelope sat on the floor. No name, no address, just a sticker of that white circle. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "We read your handwritten pages. You don't understand what this is." I dropped it. The edges of the paper were damp, like someone had held it too long before sliding it under my door. I forced myself to pick it up again and flipped it over. There was an address scribbled on the back, an old office building on the edge of downtown. Underneath, 3 words: "If you want answers." I told myself not to go. But that night, I went. The building looked abandoned. Tall, cracked windows, an old security sign half peeled off the glass. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled like dust and paper. A single hallway led to a room with flickering lights. Computers lined the walls, old monitors displaying blocks of text. Every screen showed a different story, different names, different people. Some I recognized: survived Megan, healing from emotional entanglements, the Cycle Project. Others were new. In the center of the room sat a woman. She wasn't Megan. She wasn't Amber. She was older, quiet, eyes on the screen in front of her. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Then stop me," I replied. She turned to face me. "We don't stop anyone. We document." I took a step closer. "Who's we?" "The writers," she said. "We build the frameworks. The groups grow on their own." I felt cold. "You're telling me you made this? All of it?" She nodded once. "The program started as a study. We wanted to see how long a digital story could sustain itself if we gave it conflict and an audience. One subject becomes the villain, another the survivor. It should have stopped after phase 4. My throat tightened. "You used real people." Her eyes flicked toward me. "We didn't choose the names. The system found them." I stepped back. "So Megan, she was chosen because of proximity. You were the perfect opposite. Too expressive, too reactive. The algorithm connected you. After that, we only observed." I wanted to scream, but my voice came out small. "You ruined my life for an experiment?" She looked almost sad. "You gave the story life. Without you, it would have collapsed." I stared at the monitors. On one of them, I saw my name, my full name, at the top of a file labeled Phase 12 Summary Report. Under it, a new heading: Proposed Subject for Phase 13 MH, Megan. I pointed at it. "You're doing it again." "It's already begun," she said. "The system reassigns roles once a subject disengages." "Turn it off," I said. She shook her head. "It doesn't work that way anymore." I stepped forward, yanked the power cable from the wall. The lights flickered out. The screens went dark, all but one. A white circle glowed in the middle. Then words appeared. "Termination detected. Switching to manual continuation." The woman's face went pale. "It's self-writing now," she whispered. Another line appeared. "Laura Hart assumes narrative control." The monitor began typing on its own. Phase 13. The writer returns. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my apartment, shaking, covered in dust from that building. My notebook sat open on the table, blank except for one sentence in my handwriting that I didn't remember writing. "The story can't exist without you." I tore out the page, threw it away, unplugged everything. But when I looked at my phone, the one I'd wrapped and hidden, the white circle had returned. And beneath it, a new message. "Phase 13 is yours, Laura. What happens next is up to you." The white circle blinked once and went still. I sat on the floor watching it, heartbeat steady for the first time in days. Maybe I was past panic. Maybe I was just empty. If the system wanted a story, it was going to get one. But this time, it would be mine. I took a clean notebook, wrote a single word on the first page: start. Then I wrote every rule I could remember from what they'd told me, the things that made the cycle keep spinning. Someone has to play the villain. Someone has to play the healer. The story must keep moving. The subject must respond. When I finished, I stared at the list and drew a thick line through every rule. No villain, no healer, no story, no response. The next morning, I went back to that building. It was empty. The computers were gone, the desks stripped bare, even the wires in the walls pulled out. Only one thing was left, a note taped to the door. If you delete the story, it rewrites you. I laughed out loud, the sound echoing in the hallway. Let it try, I said. At home, I opened my laptop and the familiar file popped up on its own. Phase 13, the writer returns. Instead of deleting it, I started typing over it, page after page of nonsense, broken letters, symbols, anything that would corrupt the data. When I saved, the system froze. A line appeared at the bottom. Error, undefined subject. Then, for the first time, the circle went dark. I stayed offline for a week. I expected someone to contact me. Megan, the man from the park, whoever was left. No one did. When I finally turned my phone back on, it was blank. No contacts, no apps, no photos, just one new text. Congratulations, Phase 13 concluded. I didn't answer. I dropped the phone in a drawer and left it there. Months passed. Sometimes I still saw people online talking about toxic friendships or survivor communities. None of them mentioned me. None of them mentioned Megan. The world had moved on. I moved too. Different city, different job, no social media. Every once in a while, I'd see the white circle appear in my dreams, silent, pulsing, waiting for a response. I'd wake up sweating, remind myself it wasn't real, and go back to sleep. One evening, while cleaning out an old box, I found the first thing Megan had ever given me, a photo of us from college. On the back, she'd written, "If we ever stop talking, promise me we'll write about it instead." I almost smiled. Maybe she'd been right, in a twisted way. Writing about it was the only thing that had kept me sane. I tore the photo in half, then threw it away. Later that night, as I was closing my laptop after finishing some work, a notification popped up in the corner of the screen. No app name, just a single message. Phase 14 initiated. Subject, reader. For a long moment, I just stared at it. Then I shut the laptop and let the room go dark. Maybe the story never ends. Maybe it just waits for someone else to open it.